This is my Proto Pipe, which I've had since the mid-1980s, and I absolutely love it. It's my favorite pipe ever, and it's a little beat up, research. But I wanted to meet the men behind it. So we went north to Willits, California to meet Phil Jergenson, the inventor, and his brother Richard Jergenson, the company archivist. This is the green room.
This is the Proto Pipe Deluxe. We've been making these for 45 years, 44 years, and it has a cleaning poker, and that's for cleaning and stirring. This is a lid, so you can close it and it won't smell up your pocket. So, and if you push through the center hole, you'll push out a resin trap. The stash pod holds about 5 bowls of pot. We've stamped our name inside of it there and address. You can also use the poker as a ramrod to run it through. It would be like a gun cleaning kit. So you could field clean it. After you pour your weed in, this is a tamper. So you want it to go back together. Twist here, drop the trap back in, line up the 2 little dots on the bottom. Now the poker holds all those parts together. It will not come apart. Maybe my eureka moment was on a ski lift, and I was trying to light a pipe that I had made out of a cardboard, and the lid to an old film tin was the bowl. And I just realized I didn't have any of the implements that you needed. And so that's when I decided I'm gonna design a pipe. And it took, more than a year after coming up with it to get my act together to move to the San Francisco Bay Area.
So you went out to California, and then Richard, you came out a little while later.
I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I certainly didn't want to go to Vietnam, so I, like many other young men, went to college or university. And I was like, well, I don't need to be here. And the idea of following him to San Francisco was pretty appealing. And that's what I did. I wanted to chase a pipe dream as well. Adam, welcome to my world.
So this is your personal archive?
I've been chasing the story of cannabis prohibition because of my involvement with Proto Pipe and finding out firsthand that, gee, I didn't feel like doing anything bad as a result of smoking cannabis. And so I just started getting inquisitive, and one thing leads to another, and we do need to set the record straight because to undo decades worth of misinformation, it's going to take decades to undo that. So this used to be an old Rexall pharmacy. Marijuana goes Main Street. Well, here we are. We are on Main Street, USA. Basically, this is just to kind of show what a long, strange trip it's been.
One of the ways that I got into making brass pipes was, as a kid, I started building, what's in this case, slot racers. And the frames are made of brass. I built my own racetrack, built my own cars. A few years later, when somebody turned me on to marijuana, it's like I needed a pipe. And I knew all about brass tubing. I knew how to work the stuff. So I started using what I knew from making slot racers to make pipes. It was a terrible struggle for the first year. I only had 1 drill press, and I was a novice machinist. Nobody taught me how to do any machining, so I could only produce maybe a few good pipes a day.
And now, is that the very first?
It is.
That's the very first ad, sort of
that's right.
the touchstone?
Yes.
When I placed that first ad, nothing happened. And 2 weeks in, maybe I had 1 or 2 orders. I was desperate. I had to move to Los Angeles to do a carpentry job. And my brother Kent called me about a month later and said, you better get up here. The post office box is packed with orders. I started selling on Telegraph on a cardboard box.
And this was what you made?
This is what I built after maybe 6 months. I realized selling off of a box.
Oh, this is what you sold them from?
So I built this, And
Okay.
it pins together just like the pipe. It comes apart. The top, these are walnut and brass. These twist off and it would fit in the back seat of a Volkswagen. This is these letters, which we have thousands and thousands of. Sometimes we didn't even cash their checks. Oh, this is a funny one. We sent him a pipe and he didn't pay us for 30 years. So he sent us 40 bucks, so we thought we'd just keep the check.
Dear Phil, I wrote a bad check to you for some Proto Pipe parts back in 1991 or 1992. I think it was about $18. I wanted to set right the past, so here's a check for $40 to cover any fees you might have incurred on any interest for the last 28 years. Best, Ben H. By the late 1980s, the Jergensons had grown a little bit bored with the pipe business and a lot more worried, thanks to Ronald Reagan's war on drugs. Afraid of running afoul of the government, they arranged to sell the business to a friend for $150,000 with the agreement that they would have the opportunity to buy it back when the legal landscape cleared up. That relationship soured, and it wasn't until 30 years later, with the help of a sympathetic factory landlord, that Phil and Richard Jergenson were back in control of the business.
Here we are again.
Yeah.
The business had been pretty much wrecked, but I knew I could put it back together again. I could also, introduce new graphics, new designs, and a website, have a web presence, which he did none of.
The flagship product is the Proto Pipe, but when they came back in 2017, they launched an enhanced, tweaked version called the Rocket with small improvements to take it into the 21st century.
I'm going to sand off these two sides flush. I'm going to drill the pod hole. Now I'm going to do the resin trap. Now I'm going to drill the bowl. This one is the poker tube, the mouth tube. Now I'm going to drill the top and the bottom hole that the lids screw into.
There are still challenges, even in this legal atmosphere, that Square, which processes payments, kicked you off because it was pipes. So there's still the stigma.
We're not out of the woods yet. It's going to take decades to
Yeah.
recondition people's belief systems into it's not a crime anymore. It's medicine.
One of the problems is that you make such a good product that I haven't had to replace my pipe.
They will last a lifetime. In fact, we get letters from people saying how they've inherited their parents' or grandparents' pipes.
Show these guys how you put a pipe together.
Well, the first 50 years have been quite a tumultuous ride, if I do say so. And I can't predict the future. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's sure been an interesting journey, and it's just so amazing to see it finally becoming accepted by the masses and not demonized as it was. We took a lot of arrows in the back in those early years.
That's it, right there. That's a rocket. That's it. Smokable pipe.
When people talk about cannabis, they talk about it's not bad. I don't want to play that game. I just want to show how it's can contribute, what it's for. Anyone can look at their life and realize, yeah, when I feel like my life gets worse, when I feel good, I have better ideas and things seem to move in a more positive direction.